Hey everyone, this is a quick follow-up to my video, Camping Out for the Rapture. I plan to do a video response to Theology from the X Side's thoughtful video response to it, and there are a number of other video responses that I haven't gotten to yet. In this short follow-up, however, I want to address something that has repeatedly come up in text responses and PMs about camping out for the rapture, namely, the claim that Jesus both knew and did not know precisely when his second coming would be. By way of reminder, in Camping Out for the Rapture, I argued that since God is omniscient and Jesus, by his own admission, is not omniscient, see, for example, Mark 13:32, which has Jesus saying he does not know precisely when he will return to earth, therefore, Jesus is not God. I noted in the video that a typical apologetic response to this is to claim that Mark 13:32 and similar passages have Jesus speaking from his human nature, which was not omniscient. It didn't know everything. But in his divine nature, Jesus was omniscient, did know everything, and therefore must have known precisely when he would be returning to earth. Many comments from theists had something to say about this, ranging from the sarcasm of the lovely Mig Killer 2 to more straightforward and sophisticated restatements of the aforementioned apologetic claim. For example, a comment from a user called Teach the Cross, who recommended my attention to Philosophical Foundations for a Christian Worldview by J.P. Moreland and William Lane Craig. At the start of this video, I quoted Craig and Moreland from that book, insisting that if Jesus lacked any of the essential attributes of divinity, omniscience among them, then Jesus was not God. Since they are adherents of the Orthodox Christian belief that Jesus was fully divine, in addition to being fully human, and therefore that as God, Jesus, quote, possessed all knowledge from quantum mechanics to auto mechanics, Craig and Moreland ask and propose to answer this question, quote, how could Christ be omniscient and yet limited in knowledge? They propose the following. Quote, Jesus possessed a normal human conscious experience, but the human consciousness of Jesus was underlain, as it were, by a divine subconscious. In the incarnation, the Logos allowed only those facets of his person to be part of Christ's walking consciousness which were compatible with typical human experience, while the bulk of his knowledge and other cognitive perfections, like an iceberg beneath the water's surface, lay submerged in his subconscious. So, in, for example, Mark 13:32, when Jesus says he doesn't know the day and hour of his return, Jesus was speaking from his, quote, human consciousness. But in his divine subconscious, Jesus did know the day and hour. But that knowledge was, quote, submerged. Now, this is one among many versions of the typical apologetic response to passages such as Mark 13:32. Jesus was speaking from his human nature. Here's the problem. As is, alas to say, so often the case, Christian apologists are ignoring and even undermining their scriptures in order to defend a tenet of their religious belief set. In the instant case, that since Jesus was fully divine, he must have been omniscient. Mark 13:32 and its parallel, Matthew 24:36, plainly and unqualifiedly have Jesus making a claim that God the Father has unique knowledge here. Quote, but of that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father. Matthew 24:36 is even clearer. Quote, but of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father alone. The claim is plain, direct, and unqualified. There is one and only one person who knows the day and hour of Jesus' return, namely God the Father. No one else knows, not angels, no human being, not Jesus, not the Holy Spirit, no one. It is, quote, the Father alone. That's what the New Testament says. Every time a Christian apologist insists, as for example Craig and Moreland do, that Jesus in his divine nature must have been omniscient and therefore must in his divine nature have known the day and hour of his return, they necessarily identify these two passages, Mark 13:32 and Matthew 24:36, as false. And of course, if the scriptures, the purported divine revelation upon which Christianity is based, teach falsehood, claims of divine inspiration and inerrancy necessarily go out the window, unless, of course, one wishes to say that the Christian God promulgates falsehood. So, Christian apologists, which is it? Your apologetics or your scriptures? Your scriptures have Jesus plainly and unqualifiedly say that only God the Father knows the day and hour of Jesus' return. By contrast, Orthodox Christology and apologetics says, no, Jesus also knew in his divine nature because he's God, and God is omniscient. You can't have it both ways. I look forward to hearing your choice, apologists. Thanks a lot.